Something is happening in the aftermath of Brazil national football team's defeat to France national football team. And it's not just disappointment, it's frustration. Real frustration. A major Brazilian football Twitter page, Ginga Bonito, didn't hold back. They said all the previous coaches were the problem. They said we'd finally see the real version, the Real Madrid version, of Vinicius Jr. when Carlo Ancelotti arrived. But the national team shirt is simply too heavy for him. I refuse to believe this is the same player we see at Real Madrid. That's not tactical criticism anymore. That's questioning identity. That's questioning whether a player can carry the badge. And what makes it even more bitter? Just 2 days earlier, Globo reported that Ancelotti wants to build Brazil around Vinicius. Expectation on one side, reality on the pitch on the other. And right now, the gap between the two is uncomfortably wide. It's no surprise that Felipe Melo came out swinging. Anyone who says Brazil doesn't need Neymar, I will argue against them to the end. Neymar, even on one leg, is still the best player in this team. That's not nostalgia talking. That's a reflection of what people are seeing. Because when you watch Brazil right now, how they build, how they attack, how they look for a leader, everything points to one thing: a massive void where Neymar used to be. But the story doesn't stop on the pitch. After the game, instead of frustration or even visible disappointment, Vinicius was seen smiling, chatting, and swapping shirts with Kylian Mbappe. Normally, that's football. Completely normal. But context matters. Brazil had just lost. They had played against 10 men. They had chances, real chances, to come back. And yet, the optics didn't sit well. The issue isn't the shirt swap, it's the feeling it leaves behind. Did he really feel the weight of the game? Did he truly feel what it means to wear that shirt? And when you go back to the performance itself, the criticism becomes even harder to ignore. Vinicius had a poor game. Plenty of touches, plenty of involvement, but very little end product. Too many isolated dribbles, too many situations where he tried to solve everything alone. The attack looked disconnected, fragmented, almost improvised. Then came the moment. Late in the game, a clear chance to make it 2-2. The kind of moment where top players define matches. And he missed it. Not a half chance, not a miracle finish required. Just a moment that needed composure, and it slipped away. And that, more than anything, is what frustrates people. Not the loss, but the way they lost. A game where they had the numerical advantage. A game where they created opportunities. But no one stepped up. No one delivered the killer blow. Because here's the truth. Brazil don't lack talent. Not even close. What they lack is a true reference point. A conductor. Someone who can organize chaos, dictate rhythm, and turn pressure into clarity. And that's why, watching Brazil struggle against France, people keep coming back to Neymar. Not out of nostalgia, but out of necessity. Now, there's another layer to this, a more strategic one. Why is Ancelotti still hesitant about bringing Neymar back? Because this isn't just about form or fitness, it's about structure. Ancelotti, as always, is flexible. But right now, he's shaping Brazil into something close to a 4-2-2-2, or a fluid 4-4-2. And the game against France was probably the closest thing to his ideal version so far. A system designed to be open, adaptable, allowing players to rotate, improvise, and make decisions on the fly. On paper, it fits Brazil perfectly. Technical players, freedom, creativity, expression. In reality, it looks like a good idea. That hasn't fully landed. Because when you break it down, the pieces make sense. Gabriel Martinelli brings energy on the left. Rafinha offers direct attacking threat on the right. Vinicius plays narrower, attacking the box. Matheus Cunha links play between the lines. Casemiro provides balance behind them. It all checks out on a tactics board. But football isn't played on a tactics board. And against France, that was exposed. Brazil had options. They had structure. They had ideas. What they didn't have was efficiency. The connections weren't clean. The final actions lacked sharpness. Too many individual solutions, not enough collective patterns. And when your key players are slightly off, the whole system collapses into disjointed pieces. So in the end, this isn't just about Vinicius. It's not even just about Neymar. It's about a team that looks full of talent, but still searching for a way to make that talent work together. This is where the real questions begin to surface. Is a system that gives players too much freedom without a clear structural hub actually turning Brazil's national football team into a group of individuals rather than a cohesive unit? Is this pursuit of flexibility quietly sacrificing stability? And that is exactly why the Neymar debate has become so sensitive. On one hand, Neymar is precisely the type of player who can act as the central reference point, the connector, the decision maker, the one who brings order to chaos. On the other hand, building around Neymar inevitably means structuring the system around him, which directly limits the freedom Carlo Ancelotti is trying to give his players. But here's the problem. Without that central figure, Brazil fall into exactly what we saw against France's national football team. Plenty of possession, plenty of players, even moments of opportunity, but no clear way to finish. And at this point, the question of efficiency is no longer a doubt. It's a real, tangible issue. Because a system can make sense tactically, it can look logical on paper. But if it doesn't produce clear outcomes, then it remains just that, theory. And Brazil, right now, are stuck in that exact space. If you look at the international media reaction after the defeat, there is a very clear consensus. Brazil's attack is underperforming in a structural way, not just because of individual form. Outlets like Reuters pointed out the lack of creativity from midfield. But the deeper issue is this. When the supply line is poor, the burden shifts entirely onto the forwards. And even when they do get the ball, there is no real sense of danger. That's why terms like toothless have been used. Not because Brazil don't have the ball, but because their attacks rarely translate into real threat. So when people keep bringing up Neymar after a friendly defeat, it's not emotional overreaction. It's a logical response to a very specific tactical void. Brazil don't lack attacking talent. They have pace, skill, flair, and individual brilliance. But all of it exists in isolation. Each player operates on their own rhythm. Each attack feels improvised. And when the game tightens, when opponents sit deep, when the team needs someone to control tempo and dictate decisions, there is no one to take that responsibility. That's what Neymar used to provide. He isn't just an attacker, he's a reference point. A central hub who can receive between the lines, operate in tight spaces, slow the game down, or accelerate it when needed. Most importantly, he makes decisions. At Brazil, Neymar was rarely just the finisher. He was the origin of danger. And that's exactly what was missing against France. Without creativity from midfield, the ball reaches the front line in poor conditions. Players like Vinicius Jr. are forced into isolation, taking on defenders without support. The result? Predictable, disconnected, and easy to contain. Neymar solves that specific problem. He drops deep, stretches defensive structures, creates passing lanes that others simply don't see. He can pause the game, allow the team to reorganize, or inject tempo at the right moment. These are subtle details, but they are what separates structured attacks from improvised ones. And perhaps most importantly, Neymar brings order. When he plays, teammates understand their roles. They know where the ball will go, when to move, when to attack space. Without him, everything becomes more spontaneous, but also more chaotic. That is why people miss Neymar. Not just for the flair, but for the control he brings, something Brazil clearly lack right now. But the bigger question remains, is Neymar the perfect solution? Not entirely. Because bringing Neymar back means committing to him as the focal point. It reduces tactical flexibility. And given his injury history, it's a gamble. So Brazil are caught between two realities. Without Neymar, they lack structure. With Neymar, they risk dependency. And that's the dilemma Ancelotti has to solve. But if you look at the reality, Brazil national football team are missing a true operational hub. They lack a player who can turn disconnected moments into structured attacking sequences, someone who can give purpose to possession. And among the current options, Neymar is still the only one who has consistently done that at the highest level. So when people bring up Neymar after this game, it's not nostalgia, it's logic. When a system is missing a key piece, the natural reaction is to think of the player who once filled that role best. And for Brazil, for many years now, that player has always been Neymar. That's the dilemma. Both approaches have valid arguments, but the more games like this one against France's national football team, where Brazil dominate the ball but fail to convert, the more people will inevitably turn back to Neymar. And that, quite simply, is unavoidable.